It was television actor George Ross who said, "When somebody buys a stock, it's because they think it's going to go up, and when a person sold it, they think it's going to go down. Somebody's wrong." In this lesson, we're going to define the basic vocabulary of buying and selling shares of stock, and we're going to compute the gains and losses from stock trades. All to answer the question, what is a stock portfolio? Before we get into it, let's make sure we're ready for this lesson by looking at warm-up number 2. Solve each literal equation for the indicated variable. So if we're going to solve this for x, we need to get x out of these parentheses. This means we're going to multiply both sides by 4 so that we get 8y is equal to 3x minus 5. Now we can add 5 to both sides to get 8y plus 5 is equal to 3y. Dividing both sides by 3, that's 3x. Now, dividing both sides by 3, we get 8y plus 5 divided by 3 is equal to x. And if we're going to solve both sides of this for z, I'm going to rewrite it so that I can see 2y over 1 is equal to 3x minus 5 over z. This is just so that I can see z times 2y is equal to 3x minus 5. Dividing both sides by 2y is going to give me 3x minus 5 over 2y. Now, let's take a look at a problem you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. Andy paid W dollars for shares of a corporation that manufactures cell phones. He sold them for Y dollars. Express his capital gains as a percent of the original purchase price and round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So just as we've been doing to try and find that change, we're going to go with y minus w divided by w and then multiply it by 100 when we want to see that answer as a percentage. Let's define some basic vocabulary of buying and selling stocks. A stock portfolio is a set of all stocks a person or group currently own. A portfolio changes whenever stocks are bought or sold. Stocks are best for long-term goals, as over time stocks tend to grow and become more valuable. Stocks can go up or down in value. If the market is volatile, it means there have been recent sudden extreme changes in stock prices. Because of market volatility and because some stocks do not perform as planned, it is best to have a diversified portfolio of stocks of different sized companies in different industries. When stock is bought and sold, a trade is made with another stockholder. If an investor is buying 600 shares of Xerox Corp., the investor is buying the shares from another shareholder who wants to sell them, not from Xerox Corp. Only the first purchaser of the stock actually bought it from Xerox Corp. Most shareholders buy and sell stocks in multiples of 100 shares, which are called round lots. A purchase of less than 100 shares is called an odd lot. When you buy stock, even if its value increases, you will not make a profit until you actually sell the stock. If the shares are sold at a higher price than they were purchased for, you make a profit. This is the goal implied by stock rule of buy low, sell high. The difference between the selling price and the purchase price is the gross capital gain. If you sell a stock for less money than you paid for it, you have a gross capital loss. You must report capital gains and losses to the Internal Revenue Service because each affects the amount of income taxes owed. Investors should keep careful track of the stock market and the stocks in their portfolio so they know when to buy new stocks, add to what they already own, sell, or just hold on to what they own. Here, we're going to learn how investors determine their capital gains and losses. Now, let's compute capital gains and losses for stock trades. Several years ago, Marlene purchased stock for $7,241. Last week, she sold the stock for $9,219. What were her gross capital gain? So we're going to subtract the purchase price from the selling price to find her capital gains. This means $92.19 minus $72.41 for a $1,978 capital gain. She must report this as income on her income taxes for the year in which she sold the stock. Let's check our understanding of this. Brett used money he received as a gift for high school graduation to purchase $4,000 worth of shares of stock. After he graduated from college, he needed the money to buy a car, so he sold the stock for $2,433. What were his capital gain or loss? Well, $4,000, how much he spent on it, minus the $2,433 that he got, gave us $1,567 as a loss. 5 years ago, Jessica bought 300 shares of a cosmetics company stocked for $34.87 per share. Yesterday, she sold all of her shares for $41 per share. What was her capital gain? Well, we're going to multiply to find the purchase price of all 300 shares. And we're going to multiply the selling price of all 300 shares and subtract that to find the capital gains. This means $34.87 times the 300 shares purchased is going to give us $10,461. We also know that she sold them at $41 a piece, all 300 of them, for $12,300. By subtracting 12,300 minus 10,461, we get $1,839 of capital gain. Let's check our understanding of this. Kevin bought 125 shares of stock at $68.24 per share. He sold them 9 months later for $85.89 per share. What were his capital gains? Well, we can do this slightly different just to show. $85.89 is how much he sold them for, minus $68.24. Means he experienced a profit of $17.65 per share, but there were 125 shares that were purchased. So he had a capital gain of $2,206.25. Now, let's extend our understanding of this. 3 years ago, Maxine bought 450 shares of stock for X dollars per share. She sold them last week for Y dollars per share. Express her capital gains algebraically in terms of X and Y. Well, we know that how much she had in the end was 450 shares times her selling price of Y. We would subtract the 450 shares times her buying price of X. Randy paid $3,450 for shares of a corporation that manufactured cell phones. He sold them for $6,100. Express his capital gains as a percent of the original purchase price and round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we're trying to figure out what this total change is. This means we're going to take 6,100 minus 3,450. But because we're wanting to get a amount of change, this is change from the original, which was 3,450. It also said that we want to have this as a percent. So we're going to multiply by 100, which means we're going to get 76.8115942. Since we only want a tenth of a percent, then we get to stop it at the 8 for 76.8%. Let's check our understanding of this. Allison bought shares of Citigroup Corp in early 2007 for $55 per share. She sold them later that year for $35 per share. Express her loss as a percent of the purchase price and round to the nearest percent. Well, we know we're suffering a loss here, so we're going to take the $35 that she sold it for and subtract the $55 that she bought it for. Divide by the 55 so that we can see a percent of change. Percent means we're going to also multiply this by 100, which is going to give us 36.36% or 36% as a loss, so negative. Andy paid W dollars for shares of a corporation that manufactures cell phones. He sold them for Y dollars. Express his capital gains as a percent of the original purchase price and round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So just as we've been doing to try and find that change, we're going to go with Y minus W divided by W and then multiply it by 100 when we want to see that answer as a percentage. Let's check our understanding of this. Linda bought $800 of stock in Garden Equipment Corporation. The selling price is X dollars. Express the percent increase of Linda's potential capital gains algebraically. So because we have a gain, we're going to have X minus 100 to get our positive number. Divide that by the 800. That's because that's how much she bought into it for. Multiply that by 100 to turn it into a percent.